So, I'm back on Twitter. I'm back on X, yeah? People are talking about this Saturday and saying it's a trap and that people shouldn't go. I have the total opposite opinion. Let me tell you why. My activism started in 2009 when our Royal Anglians come under attack in Luton Town. Watch this.
It was in March last year that soldiers from 2nd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, paraded through Luton Town Centre to mark their return from operations in Iraq. The 7 accused men staged a protest nearby, carrying placards and shouting slogans, branding British soldiers murderers and baby killers. It provoked an angry and at moments violent reaction from some of those who had gathered to watch the parade.
Why are they allowed to do this? Why?
It's wrong. They should not be allowed on this day.
In response to that, we mobilised local men, all Luton men. We mobilised, we took to the streets, we let our police and our council know how unhappy we were. Have a watch. Now, the group who attacked our armed forces were holding Islamic roadshows across our country. Their name was Al-Mujahideen. Remember Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza? Abu Hamza used to preach outside Finsbury Park Mosque. Unchallenged. Police done nothing. They were allowed to do that for decades. They sent people to fight against our armed forces. They radicalised on the streets unchallenged. There were laws that could have been brought in to outlaw, prescribe those groups, to imprison them, but they done nothing. They allowed them to do it because they're scared of their reaction every time. Only when we mobilised men across the country under the banner of the English Defence League did they then act. They then prescribed that organisation as a terrorist organisation. All of its members were then imprisoned. Why weren't they 10 years before? Why was the hate not stopped 10 years before? I'll tell you why. Because our government and our police take the easy option every time. They let them do it. Once they saw a resistance in its thousands of young, willing British men, they had to do something. We forced them to do something. With grooming, we forced them to bring it, we brought it to the forefront. We shifted the Oval window. We made it acceptable for politicians to talk about. We made it acceptable for the media to talk about. The cowards who ignored it for decades then were allowed to, because thousands of people were screaming about it. That's what we've done. So you've watched for the last 3 weeks. If you're shocked by the actions of our police force the last 3 weeks, as in terrorist organisations and flags and banners are flying, calls for jihad, no one gets arrested, but they got someone holding a British flag and an English flag. Or they arrest a man who criticised the Palestinian flag while raiding his home. Why is that? Because our police and our government go for the easy option. They're not worried about upsetting us. They're worried about upsetting them. Only now are their messages coming out saying they want this march banned. They want it banned because they know you're mobilising. They know British men are mobilising for Saturday to be in London. Now, the importance of this is not for a riot, it's not for violence, it's not to turn up drunk, it's not to turn up aggressive. It's to turn up and show our government and show our police and show Hamas and everyone who's sitting around the world saying Britain has fallen, that there is a resistance, that a silent majority have had enough in this country of the abuse and liberties that are being taken on our sacred day. You see, the 11th of the 11th, to us, it's as important as your mosque, as important as your Quran, as important as your prophet. You come and you disrespect us in such a way on that day. On that date. So my message to people is saying it's a trap. Is it a trap? What do you want us to do? Just sit by while our country is obliterated? Why everything's sacred to us? Why they take liberties left, right and centre? The only time, the people organising these marches, yeah? Hizb ut-Tahrir are the organisation. They are prescribed in most European countries. They're prescribed in every Arab nation because the Arabs know how they have to deal with these people. But in Britain, they're allowed this terrorist organisation because that's what they are. A terrorist organisation who want a world caliphate, Islamic domination and Islamic supremacy, and that organisation are part of these rallies, and they're calling for jihad. And the only time our government and our police will decide to do something is when they see a resistance, an uncontrollable mass of men. Yeah? And that is what's currently needed. And not for trouble, not for violence. You see, their demonstration, their route, I think the police will be on top of it, and they will make sure they come nowhere near Wales, nowhere near the Churchill statue, nowhere near any of our monuments or any of our cenotaphs, nowhere near them. Yeah, that's what I think the police will end up doing, because they're going to be forced to, because of the amount of young English and British men that are coming out. So, this is a call to every one of you. Yeah, make your way to London and be in London. But be calm and be respectful, because this isn't about, people said the EDL reunion, this isn't about an organisation, it's not about a political party, it shouldn't be about any name, it shouldn't be about me, So least of all, I'm going to be there reporting for you as a journalist to show what's going on that day, to document what they've allowed to happen over the last 3 weeks, the liberties that they've allowed to carry on, yeah? And what those liberties result in is a mass of men who are willing to stand for their country. And no one's saying come and fight, because that's the last thing anyone wants on the 11th of the 11th. We want utter respect shown, and we want to show the world that British people ain't having it, okay? So on the 11th of the 11th, I hope this Saturday I see as many of you as possible in London. Remember, it's about respect for our armed forces, nothing else. That doesn't mean walking down the streets with cans of beer. It doesn't mean screaming aggressively. It means respecting our armed forces. But just show how many of us are willing to stand. See you all Saturday.